What's going on, everybody? My name is Ben and welcome back to the bench for our very last episode of the 12 Sprues of Kit-mas. That's right, guys, we built 11 kits. We're going to build the last one today. So let's go ahead and grab that box, see what it is. So far we have been moving right along, guys, and every single kit has been so much fun. We're on the very last day right here, and I have a pretty good idea what this kit's going to be. I don't want to say it necessarily just in case, someone pulled the old switcheroo and it's a different kit completely than what I expect, but I doubt that. But let's go ahead and punch on through here. Let's go ahead and fish around. Okay, here's the label. Let's pull that one out. Okay, yep. This is the 1/72nd scale Hasegawa Ki-44. This is one of my favorite Japanese fighters, so let's go ahead and grab the kit. Now, I actually started off this build series with another Hasegawa kit, a Ki-61, and this I'm pretty sure is probably going to be the sister kit to that. So I have an idea that we're not going to get much detail in the cockpit, we're not going to get a whole lot of detail in the landing gear wells and all that, but I think overall though, it's going to be a fun little kit to build. Let's go ahead and just check out what we have in the box. Pretty standard, pretty simple stuff here. I have one sheet of decals, looks to be a couple different options there in terms of markings. That's cool. Instruction manual right here. Let's go ahead and open that up. Yep, we have two different schemes we can go ahead and paint. Easy breakdown, very similar to the Ki-61. Doesn't look like it's all that difficult to build, so that's good. Of course, I can see here that there's not a lot of detail called out for the cockpit, so I'm gonna guess we might have to go ahead and deal with that. Now, as I mentioned before, we have two different schemes that we can paint here. This one here in the natural metal is the one I'm leaning towards, and that's only because I really want to go ahead and use these really cool symbols. Now, I could go ahead and do the other scheme right here, which isn't bad, but I just want to go ahead and do the natural metal. And when I worked on the Ki-61, I made the mistake of overspraying that natural metal, so I'm thinking let's try to redeem ourselves and just keep this as bare metal as possible. We can give you a close-up here of the different schemes. I really like this one right here. So I actually have a book on the Ki-44, and as you can see right here, this is the version. We do notice that they've fared in the front machine guns and they've deleted the wing guns as well. But I don't really want to delete, the front machine guns on the cowling. I'll leave those open. But the other ones, we'll go ahead and pull those apart. But with that being said, let's go ahead and jump in and check out some of the parts. I have my suspicions, but let's see if they are correct. Again, one poly bag. We have three different sprues, one clear. Looks to be two different canopies. We have one for the telescopic gun sight and one for the reflector gun sight. So that's interesting. I think the one I'm building will have the telescopic gun sight. So we'll be using this canopy probably right here. A little bit of flash there. Might have to clean that up a bit. And then we have one gray sprue here. Looks like our fuselage, sidewalls, and everything looks very clean, very crisp. I don't notice that much flash really. Maybe a little bit around different areas here. So overall, not too shabby. Again, recessed panel line, so that's nice. I'm figuring this is about the same vintage as our Ki-61. We're kind of coming full circle here, Our last sprue also has a cockpit tub, and as we can see, there is no detail in there whatsoever. We are given a pilot though, which is nice. We could technically fill the cockpit up with a pilot, but to be honest, pilot doesn't look all that great, very softly molded. So we're just going to go ahead and black out the canopy. I'm going to make this into an ornament as well. But let's go ahead and jump into our very first time lapse, guys. We're going to push forward and we're going to start our basic assembly. Going to try to get everything put together. Like I said, we're going to black out the canopy, mash that fuselage together, get the wings all set up. We're going to fold in the landing gears, of course, so we have to mess around with that, make sure that they fit. And then we'll just get some seams going, fix them up with some super glue, move on from there. So let's go ahead and dive in there, guys, see what we can do. Get this party started. Alright everybody, we are back, and as you can see our Ki-44 is looking pretty snazzy. So far the fit has been decent, way better than the B5N, that's for sure. I took a little bit of flat black and I airbrushed it over the different areas that I was questioning in terms of whether or not the seams were fixed up. They look okay to me, I don't need to do any more work on that. We need to figure out the drop tanks though. We also have to do a lot of other painting on the aircraft. For example, the front leading edge yellow bands as well as the black stripe that comes right from the cowling all the way to behind the canopy, and then we have to paint on the home defense white bands with then the red circle in the middle of that. So we do have a lot of painting to go ahead and do, but I think first of all we have to go ahead and start priming. So what we're going to do is we're going to use some Stalin-Res white primer, and then we're going to overcoat that with all-clad black. That's exactly what we did on the Ki-61, and it turned out beautiful. So I think we are in good hands with that. Go ahead and dive into that time lapse, guys. Get everything ready to go. Get that primed. Fingers crossed this thing comes out looking beautiful. Let's do it. All right, everybody, after quite a bit of painting, we have our Ki-44 all gloss coated and it looks pretty sweet. We've got the red tail on there, we've got the white bands, we've got the red suns, we have the yellow around the front of the wings, and then of course we have the black coming off the cowling. So man, this thing is looking pretty sharp. And this thing has already been gloss coated and dried, so I'm thinking we are ready for decals. I ended up airbrushing the propeller in a red-brown color. I thought that was going to be silver, but according to the instructions here, it's actually red-brown. That's fine. We have that all nicely set up, and we're going to have to go ahead and put some decals on those blades as soon as we get to that stage. The propeller doesn't fit all that great into the engine, but everything else has been going together beautifully. We also have some other parts. For example, since we're doing this version here, we're going to have to be using the telescopic gun sight, so that has to be mounted and painted. And then, of course, like most Ki-44s, we have the mast that's going to go under the fuselage. There are a few aerials that come off of that, so we'll have to figure that out. Then, of course, we have the canopy, and then we have just basic hook placement because this is going to be an ornament. And then we have to coat everything with a semi-gloss finish. This should be pretty simple to do, guys. I'm not that worried about it. I think we should be able to push this through. We're going to keep weathering to a minimum. I don't want to go too crazy with it, but let's go ahead and jump into our very last time lapse of this build series. Let's go ahead and get everything done, decaled, weathered, get that hook all set up, and then hit it with a semi-flat coat. And we'll be back and I'll show you the finished Ki-44. All right, everybody, we are back and we have finished our 1/72nd scale Hasegawa Ki-44. I got to tell you, what a great little kit this was. Now, again, kind of shy on some details. Cockpit was pretty much barren, but that's okay. Everything else looks great, and the fit was actually very, very nice. So let's go ahead and show you what we've actually ended up here. Here it is, the Ki-44 Shoki tree ornament. Yep, I went ahead and put a hook on that, so we are ready to go ahead and hang this up on the tree. I'll keep the tree up for maybe about a week or so more, then I'll pull it down. That way I can enjoy the ornaments just a little bit longer. Now, the natural metal finish isn't the best, of course. I could have done a lot more, could have done some pre-shade and post-shade and all that, but I just decided to go a bit simple on it. It's the last episode. I didn't want to stress out too much about it. We did end up painting all the markings as well as the white bands. So yeah, I think this honestly has been a really good experience. And of course, this is the last episode for 12 Sprues, so that's pretty neat too. Overall color was of course the all-clad chrome color because I wanted to be a little bit brighter metal. So I used Tamiya flat white, I used Vallejo red, and then I used Tamiya flat black for the anti-glare panel right there. The canopy of course was airbrushed on the inside with some flat black and then masked off to keep that kind of shininess. The drop tanks aren't glued in, they're just kind of pressure fit in there. Now this particular version had its wing guns removed, so I did not do any weathering in terms of like gun dust or anything coming off those shell ejection ports. I left them pretty clean because I figured no guns, no gun dust. On top of the wing guns being deleted, most of my references show that the cowling guns were also deleted and fared over. But I left them here on the model because I wanted this to have a little bit of bite to it, and I just like the look of the cowling machine guns coming off the KI-44, so I figured we're just going to leave it. It's not really a highly detailed kit. Of course, I did use some easy line for that aerial coming off there all the way from the mast back to the rear tail. That was very easy to work with. I should have actually added in one additional piece of wire that went from here down into the fuselage. I just didn't really want to fool with that though, and I figured it already kind of comes in contact with the hook. Again, it's not going to be 100% accurate, but that's okay. It still looks pretty awesome. And who else can say that they have a KI-44 tree ornament? You know, it's definitely a win-win situation here. But that is it, guys. We are done. The KI-44 1/72nd scale here by Hasegawa. I love it. It looks great. It's going to look awesome on my tree. It's very striking with the white defense bands with the red sun, the very shiny natural metal. I didn't actually end up overcoating this with a flat coat. I used a semi-flat coat, just a little bit of Winsor Newton mixed with a little bit of Future, and it gave it a very nice sheen. So I like it. I think it looks great. I'm going to go put it on my tree for just about a week or so until I take the tree down. And that is it, guys. We are finished. Let me go ahead and say thank you so much to each and every one of you for sticking it out and enjoying the 12 Sprues of Kit-mas video series. This is the second annual. I'm hoping to go ahead and do a third annual next year. We'll see how everything kind of goes and see how the world shapes up. But I'm really hoping that I can go ahead and continue this trend because it is a really fun build series. It's hectic for sure, but I think at the end of the entire series, you look back and you can see all the great kits you built, and it's a lot of fun. Let me also take this opportunity to say Happy New Year's to everybody out there. Thank you so much to all of my subscribers for sticking it out another year, hanging out with me here on the bench. But until our next episode, you know the drill. Go out there, get yourself some bench time, have some fun, build something cool. And we'll see you back here on the next episode of Ben Builds. Thanks so much, everybody. Happy New Year's.